Okay, here I have a Pioneer tuner TX-410, and I believe this is in working condition, but I haven't actually plugged it in or anything yet, so I thought I'd take the cover off and have a quick look. I think, yeah, these are ones that got the light up dial in them, and I'll be surprised if that's still working, but it might be, depending how much use it's had. Yeah, that still lights up, so I've got a red coloured tuning. You can barely see it. You can just make it out. Get in that tuner onto this thing, and it's got a RCA lead attached, built into it. So I assume this is probably from the 80s somewhere by the look of it. Probably doesn't tell you though. No, it doesn't say anything. It actually looks, back of it looks like it's hardly seen the light of day. So hopefully it's in good condition. FM. The AM should have a. It does have a rod antenna in there, so that shouldn't be too fussed. And the volume. Yeah, we've got some sound there, so we're on AM. Oh, it's an actual meter. Oh, so there's an actual needle in there. I saw that white line, I didn't take much notice, but there is a moving coil meter there. Looks like it almost crashes into the perspex, and I think it is actually hitting the perspex. It doesn't. I wonder if we turn it off. And it does go back to zero, sort of. Oops. Well, it sounds like AM's basically working, although I can't get a good reception here. I've got muting and FM. Okay, FM's got muting on or off.
Into, is this something that you really want to do, or is this something that you think you should want to do?
FM stereo light.
Something you
Sounds stereo, but no FM stereo light. Well, there you go. Despite that FM stereo light looking like the end of a red square LED, as you'd expect, it's actually got a light globe in there. So maybe that light globe's blown. I can't believe it's actually an incandescent lamp. Goes to show you can't trust anything. See if we can get the FM up and see what it actually, what voltage it has on it. So that's definitely FM. Now I assume we've got volts DC here. It probably would be worth putting an LED in there. 12 volts. Can't believe they put an incandescent light bulb in there. The problem is there's a little glued in red plastic bit. Oh, there's another light globe here. So that's probably blown as well. I assume that's just for, oh, is that for lighting up that, almost looks like a wedge globe. That'd be for lighting up the signal meter there. Is it a wedge globe? I think it's just wires going into it. Oh, it is a wedge globe, but it's crimped to, or similar to a wedge. You know, it is definitely wedge pins coming out. They're just copper instead of the usual tinned. Oh, it's going now. So did I just make that work, or was it actually running before? I didn't notice it going. Maybe it just isn't very noticeable. No, it is going. You could just, gosh, you'd never know it was there. I doubt you can even see it in this light, but that is actually lit up in there. You can just see the yellowy glow to it. It's the dimmest light globe in history, just about. unfortunately a lot of scratches on the front of this. I'm going to have to try and polish them off. Big cut out of that. Oh, I tend to just buy a few of these old tuners just to have them sitting around lit up, because I quite like the look of the dials on them, and that's about it. So I guess with this I can probably cut that off and fit a little leaded lamp in there and put some heat shrink over that. Although am I going to be able to get that rubber piece back over is the next question. But goes to show there's always someone who's done it differently. This isn't even that old a tuner it seems, but I guess it's, yeah, I don't know, you'd think it'd be around mid to late 80s or something like this, but maybe at least mid 80s. Yet it's still using 70s technology. But that's why I never even thought it was going to be an odd one if the FM light doesn't work, but I didn't even click that that little square rectangular thing I was looking at in the front wasn't an LED, because it's exactly the same size as one. It's almost like they tried to fool you that they did put an LED in it, but for whatever reason they didn't. Okay, heat shrink in place, and making sure you don't touch that dial cord with your soldering iron, because if you melt through that you're in for all sorts of fun. Never want to touch that stuff. Used to be able to buy it on a roll, but I don't know if you can still even get it, so once you break it you're in a bit of trouble. Now, can I get this to slide through here is going to be the next issue. I don't know that I can. Damn it. Maybe if I shrink that nice and tight at that end, which is something I didn't actually bother to do because I thought, why would I need to do that? But I just found why I need to do that. That may help. It really doesn't want to go through it, I think. Let's see if there's still 12 volts across there with it. It may well be that it's down to about 7 volts now with an actual load on it. So I don't think that is an actual, it was 12 volts open, but of course there may be a resistor at one end of this thing. So I think we probably should have put a 6 volt globe on now, I'll find out. That's why incandescent light globes are a pain, because you don't know what they are loaded down. That can be completely different to what they are when that thing's open circuit. Okay, take 2. Do I need to open this thing up? Ideally it wants those holes cut and open wider. Don't know that it'll help though. It must have been going most of the way through. I might have been able to just cut the end of this thing off. Try and open those holes up. Yeah, that's better. I just cut it off and you get bigger holes. Which hopefully this heat shrink will slide through. No, that's not too bad. That's quite usable. Okay, so we've got the stereo light on. This other one is lit, but you'd barely know it. And the pointer is lit, but again, you'd barely know it. I can't even see that really in the camera, but and that, I have to turn the lights right off to even notice that. But at least that should be going now. The next problem is, can we get these scratches off this perspex. At least it's another chance to practice doing a bit of that, because I've got very little to lose here and lots to gain. I'll do that on the cotton bud again. Let's try that big scratch. Okay, let's try polishing that scratch. If we can get some of the worst of the stuff out of it, will be a damn good improvement. And I think it might have done. Let's have a look at these other ones too. Like I can really feel them. But even if it doesn't take the main scratch out, if it just sort of takes the bit that I guess reflects the light or diffuses the light or something, it won't be anywhere near as noticeable. Don't think that's done a lot, and we've got a big scrape there. That seems to have disappeared, thankfully. I'm not sure that made a lot of difference, and there's another scratch up the top there. And the polish itself is probably going to be in the scratch now, making it somewhat worse. Oh, that's actually improved that one a bit, I think. Let's see what else is actually scratches and what's just dirt on here. Most of it's just dirt, I think, thankfully. Yeah, took that bit off. That bit I haven't tried yet, so it does seem to have taken the edge off it. You know, probably literally took the edge off it. Which is kind of the idea, just take the roughness out of it a bit is a good start. But yeah, someone's really had this sitting up against something else with a look at it and scratched. I think this might have come out of a pile of old hi-fi components. I think it came out of the same pile as that Hitachi amp I did. And I think they wanted way too much money for this, but eventually they had a half price sale. And I bought this because it was about $15 or something. I thought it'll go on my tuner pile. Now if I was really game, what I could do is get some fine sandpaper and actually try and scratch sand the worst of these scratches out, and then try and polish whatever that does. I must admit, I'm almost tempted to try it if I can find my, some 1200 grit wet and dry somewhere. I would actually be half tempted to see if I can, scratch the worst of this out and then get rid of the scratches that puts, because that'll definitely make it go sort of, turn it into a bit of a diffuser, I would think. Cause it to have like a fine scratches all over it. It's actually taken quite a bit of that out, I think. These could definitely need more work. And the question is, do I just keep trying to persist with this until I can't really feel those things so much anymore? Or do I get some heavy duty stuff in here, take the worst of them out, and then use this to clean up the mess? Okay, yeah, what have I got? 1200 grit. If I cut a little piece of that off, I think I'm going to just give it a very careful try. I think maybe if I fold it into a little V and try and attack that scratch, maybe. Ooh. Been a while since I've even used this stuff, so it's gonna make it worse to start with. Yeah, as you can see, there's a nice smear there. So the question is, will this polish take that bit off, or have I ruined it forever? I think we should get it off with a bit of work anyway. And the other question is, did that wet and dry even take the scratch out, or down to the bottom of it? Ooh, it's might have done something. Still a bit definitely taken some of it out, but it's also added quite a bit of scratching itself, as expected. But it's just a matter of getting the right amount of material off. It has actually diminished the main scratch, but also still quite a few of its own scratches left, so I might have to keep at that quite a bit, I think. I sort of need something in between, a slightly harsher polish, I think, just to get the worst off. Before going for the fine polish like this stuff. Yeah, it's kind of, if you look on the right angle, you can see actually more scratches than it was originally there, but not a lot more. Probably with a little bit more polish that'll get them out, but it certainly took the main scratch and made it a lot less harsh compared to like these ones. Let's try this little one there. Trying to get a small enough piece of this. I don't want to scratch much further than the actual original scratch area. And it is making a bit of a bigger area. But being plastic, it shouldn't take much work to cut through it. But this is a very fine bit of sandpaper. You could almost go a higher grit, I think, and it certainly hasn't even got to the bottom of it yet. Maybe I do need a slightly higher grit to cut the worst out. Yeah, you just can't get to the bottom of those scratches, they're so deep. You soon know when they're gone because everything will be the same colour. At least with a bit of white polish in there you can tell. That's got a lot of it off, I think. Still the white stuff at the bottom though. So I certainly haven't got to the bottom of it. And then with all this area here, I don't have a lot to lose. Anything that improves that is a big improvement because this really does look bad this end. Unfortunately, most of this second-hand equipment tends to have damage like this. Really annoying. Which is why I don't want to pay much for it most of the time, because it's not like it's mint or anything. I wouldn't mind paying a bit for something that's actually in really good nick, but none of it ever is, virtually. Unless you've had some person who just really looked after it, which does happen. And generally it's had a fair bit of wear and tear. I cannot get to the bottom of that scratch. It really does want even harsher sandpaper, ironically. I would consider this pretty harsh, but it's obviously not harsh enough for these scratches. It has got a lot of it out of there, I think, but let's see if we can polish the rest of this back off again. I can already see that's making a difference. So it goes to show that's already sort of halved the harshness of what was there from the sandpaper. And I guess the longer you do it, the better it's going to get. But yeah, you can certainly still see the original scratch there. wee. Getting a bit physical with it. Well, I think it is an improvement over what we did have. Oh yeah, you can actually can't see them that much now. Even though I haven't got back to getting rid of all of it, certainly took some of the harshness out of it. At least you can't feel it anything like it was originally. Very sharp sort of scratches there, catching on you. I'm probably happy with that anyway. That's got rid of the worst of them as far as the visual effect of them goes, unless you're really tilted in the light to have a good look. We'll see what it's like when it really dries out. Yeah, it's getting a little bit harsher. Yeah, those ones are really coming back a fair bit. But that big long one's actually gone quite a bit now. It's nowhere near as bad. That was actually the worst one in many ways. It's just the most noticeable one. Probably need a little cotton polishing pad on a Dremel or something, some little power tool, rather than trying to do it manually like this. There's still a small amount of the scratches I added with the wet and dry paper, but the worst of it's gone. And yeah, these ones have come back a bit in certain areas. I mean, that you can barely feel it anymore. That one's still quite a deep scratch. And that is just a big general mess. And I guess one of the problems is, as long as there's a deep scratch there, you're probably pushing more of this white polish into the actual scratch. And so that's getting left behind in there. Is what I'm suspecting, and actually makes it, accentuates it a bit. But if I give that a proper clean up, a clean rag, I think that'll. Don't know if it really showed up on the camera that well before, but that big scratch there, you can just make it out in the right light. As soon as I tilt it a bit, you can't see it anymore because it's not catching the light like it was. But a couple of these are still a bit bad, but that's more acceptable than it was. And I think across a room I'm not going to notice necessarily, but I probably could have before. Yeah, we've got a good FM stereo light there. I can get it on any of these other channels. Where's that other channel go? Ah, there it is.
Just needs to leave the area now. We don't need extra people moving up and down the road, etc. We are expecting highway closures.
Yeah, that all seems to be good. So thanks for watching.